Alright everyone, time for a new Mythbuster video, and probably this is one of the most common teas in the hobby. We're going to be discussing the Pokey species. So today I'm mainly going to talk about the P.regalis, but this will apply to all the other members of the genus, like the P. formosa, the P. metallica, P. miranda, and whatnot. Alright, so today we're going to be discussing mainly about the P.regalis, the common name, the Latin name, the pronunciation of the Latin name because there's more than one, the availability, the cost, its small care sheet, and as well as handleability, breeding, how to sex them, and to dispel some myths. Cool, let's get started. So number one is the common name. And it goes by the name of the Indian Ornamental. Very true, because this comes from India. It's an old world arboreal species. The Latin name is P.regalis. Sometimes they like to call it the regal ornamental because of the Latin name. If you take off the is, it's regal. Now there's people in the hobby pronounce P.regalis differently, so it could be one of those three ways. This is the way that I pronounce it as, and this is where the actual name, the slang term pokey comes from. So basically I say pokey, low, there, re, up. So this is how pokey came to mind. Now the next one here, where the C is not silent, so people like to call it posil. Otheria. Hang on. So there's another pronunciation. This is what Tarantula guy 1976 actually prefers. And there's another one, and got a little like this one here. Some people like to call it as where the O is silent, Poecilotheria. So pick your term. So I prefer number one because of the pokies. That's where they come from. Okay, so the availability. So these are one of the more commonly available of the pokies, and they're fortunately not very expensive to you guys. If it was around about an inch, I probably would expect them in the $30 range. So they're pretty cheap compared to the higher end pokies like the P.regalis, the two P. suffusca, highland and lowland forms, P. metallica, and P. smithi. Those are, you would expect to pay a lot more money. For the P. metallica, I paid around $200 for that, both of them, each, and the P. smithi I paid about $170. So this goes to appreciate how expensive pokies can be. So that covered the cost. The care sheet, really, it's very simple. I'll just give you some random pokies. So if you really want to go all out, this is a 10-gallon tank on its vertical side. I have vermiculite, but you can also use like potting soil, and make sure you have a lot of cork bark so it likes to climb. So this is Pandora. She was tarantula number 90 in the T-Tour video. It's kind of like a mansion for her, but she feels comfy. And I don't really see her too often walking around the top. I always see her toward the bottom. But here she is. This is Pandora. She is a 6 to 6.5 inch female. You know strikingly how different they are compared to the most species, as the P.regalis is the only species that has the abdominal band on the abdomen. No other pokey has that. So if you recall the shipping the frozen specimens video, I did show you a dead P. fasciata body, and it looks very similar to the P.regalis, and it doesn't have that characteristic clear abdominal band. So that's mainly how to tell a P.regalis from, let's say, a P. striata or a P. formosa. Or fasciata, I'm sorry. Yeah. Here's my other P.regalis. This is Zelda. This is the larger Exoterras that you can get from the pet store. These are actually pretty cheap. Here in Canada, like a cage like this costs you around 50 bucks. Here is just half the cost and it just works perfectly for a P.regalis. So if you recall, this is Zelda. Hang on. This is my 8-inch mature female Indian Ornamental. So this is the most simplistic cage you can actually get. All it is just some substrate, potting soil, a water dish, and 2 pieces of cork bark mounted on a concave side so that way you can give a hiding place for them. And pokies do like to hide, so you have to give it to them. So here's the 8-inch Regalis. Beautiful, isn't she? Now I'll just give it a little closer shot. Here we go. She's pretty calm for a pokey. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the slings. So you can house slings in little small pill vials, like this P. fasciata. Then you can slowly upgrade them into those tall deli containers, such as the P. metallica. You can see it's around a 2-inch suspect female. And for a little larger sub-adults, they work well with a 1-gallon jar that I got from Walmart. So all I did was make some holes around the side and drill some holes on the top for extra ventilation. And this houses like 4 to 5-inch pokies, no problem. So now I talked about the cage setup. That's the most basic you can get. Care sheet, as you saw from the quiz, if you guys remember, they like average temperature and average humidity. So between 75 to 80 degrees. So if you saw my previous video where I showed you how I heat tarantulas and how the temperatures I keep, this is pretty much what I keep all the pokies, like the Formosa, Fasciata, Rufilata, Regalis, and such. And humidity around 80%, so that can be accomplished by misting the tank once or twice a week and keep a water dish full at all times. Nothing really to it. And if you like, you can also block some of the ventilation with some tape around the sides just to increase your ventilation. But you really want to have good ventilation for arboreals because you really don't want to promote any mold growth in there because that's really dangerous for any tarantula. Now about handleability. So do I recommend this tea as a good beginner species? Not in the slightest. These are very highly venomous species, very fast, and can be very unpredictable and practically even aggressive. So the P.regalis temperaments, usually they're on the nervous side. Some of them are pretty skittish, but there are other times where a specimen can become aggressive. As you saw, Zelda, she is pretty calm for a P.regalis. Pandora, which is the one in the big 10-gallon tank, she's a bit nervous. I haven't seen any threat postures from her, but I guess that's good. Pokies I do know that show the most aggression, as I practically own almost everyone except the Untitled Chapter, is the P. ornata and the P. fasciata. These are probably the most defensive of the pokies. Miranda Metallica is the more nervous and skittish one. In my opinion, Miranda and Safusca lowland or Bara seem to be the more mellow of the pokies. And mind you, they're pretty expensive, but I prefer them because they're more easier to deal with than like an ornata or a fasciata. So do I recommend handling these? Absolutely not, because you take a lot of risks involved. As you saw, a lot of people on YouTube, they take a risk because the bites really do hurt and they can do a lot of damage. Just check up Tarantula Guy 1976 videos of his bite reports. They're pretty scary. Now about breeding. Well, they're fairly easy to breed, as you saw during January of 2010. I bred uh, Pocothera petersoni. It's don't have the female to show you, but mating should be fairly easy. Little aggression towards the male unless you keep the female well fed. The problem was that Alfred got eaten because I didn't really fed the female well enough, so she got nervous and she munched him, which sucks. So they're fairly easy to breed. I don't know how much babies they can get, probably 100 to 200 depending on the species. Now about sexing your tea. Well, Pokies happen to be one of the more easier teas to sex from experience, but you can actually sex them ventrally and dorsally with no potential problem. Okay, so here you're looking at a 2-inch P. fasciata. I suspect this could be a male. So what to watch out for is overly browned colors on the Pokies. Usually a large brown area indicates that it's a male. So if you see the abdomen pattern right over here, if it was a female tarantula, the white spot would probably be the most prominent. If you see that dark spot on the abdomen, do you see the patterns here? If that black spot becomes prominent, then it's very likely that you may have a male. In this case, I might actually have one. And this is what a female poke will look like. I know it's a bad example, but gives you the idea, hopefully. So this is a Pista Fusca lowland, my RV ornamental. So if you just note the abdomen pattern here, you don't see that big black outline. It's virtually gone, and the whole white outline replaces it. So that was just my main goal, to show you that Pokies have sexual dimorphism. It's typical also that males are much more longer legged and smaller bodied than the females. And that's basically how it is. And to dispel the myth. So people often ask me, Pokies are the meanest monsters, and they are probably one of the most aggressive arboreals that are on the planet. Well, after owning for Pokies, which are one of my most favorite genus, that's actually not true. Pokies are actually like the Avix of the old worlds. They're much more calmer than, say, like a Singapore blue or the Malaysian tiger, the Toba Sharber's baboon, or even the featherleg. The featherleg is something to look into. Those are really darn pissy, and they actually charge at people if they're pissed off enough. So Pokies are really great teas to own. I would recommend like maybe your third arboreal. So if you want to start collecting arboreals, the main way is to start off with the Avic, then move on to like something like an Aversi color to display the speed and show some bit of aggression. And as well, after that, if you're confident enough, you could probably own one of the Samapoa species, like a P. camergi or a P. minia. And if you can deal with those, I'm pretty sure you'll be ready for a Pokie. So all Pokies I can recommend, it's just a matter of how much cost you're willing to pay for one. So if you really don't want to spend too much money, opt for a P.regalis or a P. fasciata. But if money is not your thing, and it's not an issue, why not go for a P. metallica or a P. diffuscas? And if you really like huge arboreals, get yourself a P. ornata, which goes up to about 10 inches, or that awesome P. rufilata that I showed you. Those can get up to 10 inches, and they're absolutely beautiful Pokies. And just before I let you go, I have 2 shout-outs to give to. Haven't done those in a while. So the first one is to Miracle Montage. Seems to like Xbox 360 games on Black Ops and Call of Duty. And also to Maddie628891, who has a bunch of videos on his G-Rosea. Sweet. Alright guys, so I do hope that Mythbuster video will help you consider a P.regalis. These are really awesome species, and thanks for watching.